Okay, everybody, how you doing? This is Kinesiology 234, and this is a overview of Check for Learning number 14, and this is the practice exams or practice quizzes, if you will, for the NSCA practice exam. So if we go ahead and look at this video that's provided, it's an individual doing a dumbbell bench press in a supine position. I'm going to pause it right there. If you look at the slides that are provided, you have a way to categorize. So you know that this exercise is upper body multi-joint. The humerus is in an abducted position, and the movement pattern is predominantly in a transverse plane, and it's a push-me exercise, right? So if we look at it, we go, okay, here's dumbbell bench press. All right, dumbbell bench press, great. You can compare that with a number of different exercises that are performed for the back in an abducted position with the bar or the weight tracking perpendicular to the force that's involved, that being gravity is providing the resistance. And we look at this, loading up here. You have a barbell bent over row. Well, a cousin to a barbell bent over row, when you look at it, is actually a dumbbell bent over row. It's still a bent over row. You're still in an abducted position, but what you're doing is, in essence, you're just using a barbell instead of a dumbbell. So it'd actually be dumbbell bent over row be your answer. So during the initial interview, client states blah, blah, blah about riding their bike for exercise. And they love riding their bike. They come in and they state during their workouts that they didn't get all of their workout, or they come in and state to their trainer they didn't get all their workouts in. So as a result, the trainer replaces biking with running after the client missed one of their sessions. So in essence, what the trainer is doing there, he is providing, and when you look at this, you can kind of put both these on a continuum. You have reinforcement and you have punishment, and you also have positive and negative. What that trainer is doing is they are basically taking biking out of the equation, which is punishment, and then they're adding running into the workouts, which is a negative feedback loop represented here by this X, what would be on a scattergram. So if that person came in and said, I did all of my workouts and I got everything done this week and I did a great job, and the trainer added another day of cycling or biking, that would be positive and reinforcing the good behavior. So that'd be represented by the A here on a scattergram. So we know that this person is basically receiving punishment that's negative from the trainer. So it'd be negative punishment. An untrained client has a estimated one rep max of 250 pounds on a leg press, which is the most appropriate. So when you look at this, you don't have to worry about the weight at this point, because when you look at training and training programming, this is sometimes represented by the cake model, but you have different phases. You have hypertrophy, base strength, power, base strength, strength, power, peaking. And hypertrophy is typified by higher volume and lower intensity strength training, or even just workouts in general. When you get into power and peaking, it's higher intensity and lower volume. So you know if somebody wants to train for hypertrophy, it can't be sets of 3 or sets of 6. It has to be sets of 10. So it has to be at this weight, 160 sets of 10. The rest of this information is just kind of fluff for you, but really you know hypertrophy is going to put you in here, sets of 10. So let's take a look. Okay, A, sets of 10. That's great. Person is 5'6". Here's what they are presenting with. And when you look at this question, what they're really presenting to you is, are you able to evaluate what's going on with this client? We know they have pretty good if you want to say some, they're pretty good strength because they can do partial curl-ups. We know they have good upper body strength, right? Because they can bench press more than their body weight. Their 188 is their body weight and they're benching 205. That's great. And now it comes down to these two, body fat or the actual cardiovascular fitness. And you look at this, they go, well, they have a pretty decent run time when it's all said and done. And what would prioritize in this equation through the NSCA would be the body composition. That 32% would be noted to be a little bit high. So it would end up being body composition would be the area of improvement. Question number 5. Now this gets a little bit mooky because you have the exercises are over here on the left side, whereas you get down here and you try to figure out your answer, they're on top. So you end up having this XY axis kind of thing going on. And unless you're cool with pivot tables, it might take a little bit for you to kind of figure this out, to just kind of look at this and take the information and process it from up here to down here. So let's take a look at what we have here, right? And really, this revolves around how much stronger the person got. On the bench press, you can see all of them, they did the same weight. But from session 1, 2, and 3, it was 10, then he did 12 and 12. So they've done more weight. When you look at the lat pull down, they did 9, 11, and 10 at 45 pounds. And then shoulder press, they did 20 at 11, 12, 12. So when it comes down to it, you know they got stronger on the bench press. Right now it becomes how much stronger? Is it enough to warrant a 10-pound increase in weight, or maybe just a 5-pound increase in weight? So realistically, by doing 2 more reps, you know they've done more work, right? They've pushed that 65 pounds 2 more times, or for a total of 135 more pounds if you want to calculate it like that. But probably not strong enough to bump this up 10 pounds. But you can do the math on this to figure out what that 1 rep max is based off that 0.03 coefficient we've talked about before. So really what you're looking at here is they got stronger here. You know the weight's going to stay the same here because they got stronger. They were able to push 1 more rep, then they regressed. Here they were able to push 1 more rep, 2 more reps, then they regressed. So really this comes down to the bench press being the key indicator to answering this question correctly. And it's a 5-pound increase, and it'd be B on this one. So let's go ahead and roll us down to number 6. Which of the following exercise would be more appropriate? So this is a little bit hairy to kind of play this out, but you look at this. In program design, I talked about it earlier. Progressions are usually from general to specific, simple to complex, stable to unstable, and with that tied in very closely is bilateral to unilateral. So a person will go from a bilateral exercise to a unilateral exercise. They'll probably go from one plane movement pattern to a multi-planular or multi-plane movement pattern. So if we look at this and we dial up this gentleman doing squat jumps, you can see he's going from 2 feet to 1 foot. A little bit of an intro here. Get ready and jump. So he's landing, or he's jumping from 2 feet, landing on 2 feet. Down here with this lateral bounding, he's jumping from 1 foot, landing on 1 foot. He's getting out of what's basically a very stable exercise up here to moving laterally, where you have the knee, hip, and ankle as they're being used to push off, are being used to push off laterally, but also being used to catch one's body weight eccentric loading wise, if I can use my fingers in quotes and say that, to catch the person laterally. So let me go ahead and dial this up where I can get the timing right here. There's a bit of an intro. I just want to get past it. Okay, let's see. So as he does this jump, wait for it. There we go. He will jump from 1 foot, unstable, land, unstable. So you can see he's going from an unstable environment on 1 foot, standing on 1 foot, to landing on 1 foot. Very unstable. General to specific, simple to complex, right? And then stable to unstable. So now this individual, double leg hop, like a little bunny. Wait for it. And they're just hopping like a little bunny, right? So as they're hopping, what's happening is, yes, it is a simpler exercise, but when you look at it, you're looking at utilizing the full benefit of jumping and landing using both knee and hips, etc. This is what the NSCA would go with. And they would go with the most appropriate being the squat jump. And that's predicated on the fact that you've taught them how to squat and you've taught them how to land correctly before going in. All right, a female client wants to prepare for her first 10K race, which is fantastic. And you look at that 10K race, well, all of these will be affected, right? Skeletal, muscular, as well as the cardiorespiratory system. But when it's all said and done, the one that'll be affected the most will be the cardiorespiratory system. That will have the greatest adaptation seen through the training program itself. Sure, a person's going to have changes to their skeletal system, They'll also have changes to the muscular system, but training for a 10K race will be very specific, and you'll have a specificity in training that'll result in a specificity or a specific response to that training. And so the greatest adaptations will be seen in the cardiorespiratory system. Let's go ahead and scroll this down to 7, from 7 to 8, excuse me. You have a 33-year-old individual, and that person's been working out with a trainer, and they got a 10 rep max or 10 repetition max on a chest press with 70 pounds. And this goes back to the quick and dirty. Sometimes when you're doing 180 questions in 3 hours, you got to do quick and dirty math, right? So we know a quick and dirty method is 0.03 per rep. So if they've done 10 repetitions and we go 0.03 times each rep, that gives us the 0.3 you see represented here. Well, 1 minus 0.3 gives us 0.7, or also known as 70%. So 70 pounds divided by that 0.7 gives us 100 pounds for a calculated 1 rep max. All right, cool. So if we know we're going to do 12 reps times 0.03 gives us 0.64, or also known as 64%. So we know 100 pounds taken from up here times 0.64 gives us 64 pounds, or for the sake of this question, 65 pounds is the closest number. So we know for question number 8 that in question number 8, 65 pounds is your winner. And if you did the math on these, you would see the slippage on that is just too great and it would fall off, right? So we know that it has to be 65 pounds. So if we go ahead and scroll down to number 9, which is the following the measure on the arterial walls. So heart rate is shown as systolic over diastolic, S over D. S is the upper number, D is the lower number. We know that systolic is when the heart is contracting. We know diastolic is when the heart is relaxing. Another way to say this, one is when you have depolarization of the heart and one is repolarization. If you want to take it even a step further, one would be represented on an EKG by the QRS complex, and then the other would be seen through the S and the T as the heart repolarizes to then be able to contract once again. So if you look at this and you look at when the pressure is applied on the arterial system is the greatest, it would be during the systolic side, the greater number side, or systole. So we know it's going to be systole, S over D. Got it? Let's go ahead and go question number 10. Which of the following determines the predominant energy system? So now here's the thing you have to remember. When you look at exercise, when a person begins to do a sprint, they're running at a very high intensity. How hard that person runs will determine how far they can run or how long they will run. Also, how hard that person is running, meaning how intense they are running, will determine what energy system is being used. A person walking on a treadmill at a very low intensity will be utilizing fat. A person sprinting at a very high rate of speed will be using glycogen. So if you look at this, really what determines everything is the exercise intensity. The duration, how long a person can run, will be dictated by how hard they are running. What energy system is being utilized and what stores of energy are being utilized to fuel that will be dictated by the level of intensity, all driven by a level of intensity. All right, guys, let's see what we got here. Save and submit. Let's see how we did. Okay, got it. Scroll this bad boy down. Hey, we got a 10 out of 10. Nice job, guys. So I hope this format helps in terms of working on these check for learnings. If I am met with favorable results on these going forward, then I will most definitely continue utilizing this type of format, the side-by-side format, to help you guys. I'm interested to hear how this goes. Thanks a lot, guys. I'm signing off.